Hello and welcome to Queers and Soaps. I am Eric, joined once again with that girl,
Aaron, yeah.
bringing you some more Ryan's Hope. We have some sad news this week, which we'll talk about in a minute. Tell me all the credits and we'll chat. Sad news, Ryan's Hope fans. Helen Gallagher died this week, sadly, on November 24th. So we dedicate this episode to her, and I'm glad Maeve was on a lot this week because
Yeah.
she's Maeve. So she was 98 years old, lived a long life. Looked her up. She's very Broadway oriented. She won two Tonys, 1952 and 1971. She
Mhm.
won three Emmys as her role as Maeve on Ryan Soap from 75 to 89. She won one in 76, 77, and 88.
Wow.
So I can't wait to see all that work. That'll be fun. The 75 stuff would be for 76, so um, I can see why. She's good. She was also in One Life to Live from 97 to 98, All My Children in 1995, and Another World in 1989. So she gets around.
She's a soap girl.
So rest in peace, Helen Gallagher. You're fabulous.
98 is not a bad run.
No, and she
I,
looks fabulous too.
I know she did up until, I mean, I'm not going to look that good. So I
She
think she's
did.
doing
She did
great.
She did an Ellen Locker interview last year, and I thought she was maybe 80,
Oh, wow.
like maybe a little younger than that. So I had no idea she was 98. So great. Um, so anyway, Ryan's Hope episode 57. Um, Frank's getting physical therapy while Delia visits. They talk about Little John and her improving herself every day and all of this stuff, going and buying all the clothes.
She's so
Um,
cute.
she says, I love you and I'll prove it. Pat and Bucky are on. They talk about Faith. Says Faith feels pressured, as she always does, by Bucky. Bucky wants to force the issue, which is probably not a good idea, but I get it. I
No,
get it.
but like Pat's like, Faith feels really pressured. And Bucky's answer is, I guess I should go pressure her more and that'll end well.
Yeah. But I guess because he loves her, he says, he claims to love her,
I don't think he
and
can love her. He hasn't known her long enough or know enough about her to love her. So it feels more like he just thinks
I don't
she's
know
hot.
how he loves her. I
Yeah.
don't.
She's not, I
Yeah,
don't
that,
know. He just thinks she's pretty and she's a doctor and he could live with her for the rest of his life. But he really like what does he know about her other than that she's a doctor like him? It doesn't seem like she knows
right.
much of anything.
Yeah.
Weird.
Pat says don't do it.
Pat is right.
Um, Charlie and Bob talk. He's getting pressure from the committee for what's his name? Frank.
Right.
Um, but whatever. I think he's like, it'll be fine. We'll work it out. Delia comes in. Um, it doesn't look good to dump him while Frank is in the hospital.
Oh yeah, that's
Um,
what Charlie said. He said that after they were
yeah,
like, he's like, it's too far in now for us to switch streams, and it would also look really bad for us to dump him while he was in the hospital because
yeah. While he's trying
it
to
would.
heal and get
Yeah.
better.
But he was really like, can he walk yet? Can he do
Right.
stuff yet? And they're like, he can move his fingers and his toes a little bit. And the guy's like,
Yeah.
really? This is all
Yep.
you got?
Jill visits Frank. They're being all lovey-dovey. Bucky and Faith talk. He asks if she should give up. They get interrupted by Ramona. They'll talk later, whatever. Jill and Delia talk at Frank's headquarters. I don't know what to call them. What is it
Headquarters.
called?
I don't know. I would call it the
Is it
campaign
headquarters?
headquarters.
Campaign headquarters. That sounds good.
Mhm.
Um, Delia says, what's it to Jill? What's it like to steal someone's husband? She says she went to a priest. and Delia tries to drive her away. Jill says, "Talk to Frank." That's
Yep.
all I got for that one.
Um, the conversation with like where even the conversation where Bucky is trying to set up to have a conversation with Faith, even I feel pressured in that conversation. It comes in and he's like, well, we need to figure this out immediately. And it's like, you
Right.
haven't even really been on that many dates or anything where this should be this severe of an issue that we're having. And Faith is just like, can't we just relax? Can't we just stop trying to make this go somewhere before we even know what it is? And Bucky's like, nope. No, nope.
No, he wants like commitment, and she is not that girl, which she does say in one of these episodes multiple times.
She does. And I don't know. It almost feels like he thinks she's pretty and that makes her the perfect wife. And that's it.
Right.
And
She gives
she's
like all
having,
the red flags of a person that doesn't want to be in a relationship.
I think he might even be able to get somewhere with it if he actually followed through on the slow way she wants to date. Like she wants to really take her time and not feel pressured to do whatever, like, and he's always like trying to kiss her and then trying to get her alone and trying to, so I think they're just at different pace for one another.
Right.
Like it's not working. And I think it's more she wants it to work than she actually feels anything. And that's
Yeah,
not
it's
good.
really,
Yeah.
yeah, it's weird.
Which makes me
Episode
feel
50,
bad for Bucky, but he's too pressure. He's too much pressure.
episode 58, Delia goes back to confession.
Hmm.
Confession is good for the soul.
Sure.
Frank always tried to rescue her, then he got busy. She said something like that.
She said
He's
that she
always
was
the
basically
hero to her.
helpless, and like when she was helpless and he could do things for her, that's what he liked to do. And then he went
Right.
to law school, and then suddenly he didn't have time to rescue her all the time. But by then she didn't know how else to act in the relationship. And the priest is like, "What can you do for him?" And it was
Right.
kind of a little, I don't know. It didn't feel like the best advice the priest gave.
Um, Ed goes to see Nell. He wants to look at her anagrams again, the head X-ray thingies.
Hmm.
He wants to make sure she enjoys life and do what they want to do and all that stuff. So he's so sweet.
Yeah, I like Ed.
Delia sees Frank. She talks about him wanting to take care of things. He looks at her like she's crazy. They have a flashback where I guess they had a good moment on their honeymoon.
Except she cried.
Um, she lost her bag. They're all lovey-dovey.
Yes, she lost her bag, but
Um,
she lost her sexy lingerie, which everybody, all the other girls helped pick out for the wedding night. So she's
well,
crying
Angel
because it was
sexy line,
supposed to
yeah.
be the perfect night, and it wasn't the
Right.
perfect night. And so I think what they were trying to do is show you the dynamic between them of Delia screwing up, and then Frank like coming to the rescue and making everything okay. So I think maybe that was the point of that flashback. They were happy. They
Yeah,
were
yeah. Seneca goes to see Nell in her office
Seneca.
about the staff meeting and work stuff. He tries to have dinner with her. She ain't having it.
Mm-mm.
He's like, I'll figure out what's going on with you. It's the
He was
last thing I
also
do.
bullying her about reports. He's like, you
What
need to
else
give
is
me
it?
reports on reports on reports. And she's like, I'm not going to waste all my time making reports. And he goes, well, then you'll have to make them in person and go to dinner with me. And she goes, I'll do the reports in triplicate. Go away.
Right,
and he's like, fine, no reports, but still dinner. And she's like, absolutely not. No dinner. Bye-bye, Seneca.
right. Frank tells Delia they can't go back. What do you want, Frank? He tells what he wants. That's all I got for that one.
He basically gives her a list of what he wants in a woman, and it's not Delia, it's Jill. And then which I kind of admired him for, even though I'm not the biggest Frank fan, but like I admired him for at the end saying, that's wrong of me to say that to you. Just be you. This is over. Let's kind of move on, which I
Right.
respect because in a lot of relationships on these shows, the guy just strings her along while he has another woman. In this, Frank is like, we could just break this up and move on with our lives. But Delia's like, what life? What life does she have?
Yeah.
So, Yeah.
Episode 59, Johnny's snoring, so Maeve wakes him up, or Maeve appearance.
It
That was funny.
was.
Jack's at the window screaming like a lunatic for Mary
I'm over
because he's
him.
loaded.
Yeah.
Mary says she will handle him. Johnny's all angry, obviously.
I'd be
Bucky and
mad.
Faith chat. He says he was mad she confided in Pat because we see Pat and her growing closer and closer and
Because
closer.
Pat doesn't put any pressure on Faith. He's just there and he just talks to her
He's
like a
just a
person.
friend.
Yeah.
hmm Bucky says he loves her. He wants to marry her.
hmm
And she's like, "What is this leading up to?" He's like, "A decision." Basically giving her an ultimatum. Either we're together or we're not, and I don't want
And
to be your friend.
I felt bad for
Which I
her
get.
because she said, if I have to answer right now, which by the way, remember she did a double at work. And this was
Yeah,
like in the middle of the night, he comes pounding into her room, demanding answers about a relationship she's not sure about. And she just goes, if I have to answer now, then this is over. And like that, what I think that's the only answer she could give because
yeah,
he wants things she's not ready to give, and doesn't want to lie to him. She doesn't want to lead him on. So what else is she supposed to say? And then she's just like, well, maybe we could just be friends, and like I love your friendship. And he's like, no, we can't be friends. If you don't marry me, I don't want nothing to do with you. And it's like,
yeah.
Bucky, what are you, 10? What are we doing here?
Yeah, I don't know either. But I don't feel bad for Faith either. I feel like she should just break it off too, because that's what he wants to do. He wants to just be like, let's just be coworkers. And like she should just be like, yeah, that's fine. But she
um
doesn't. She plays
well,
around.
I think because she doesn't know her own mind and she feels like she's being forced to make decisions too quickly. I think Bucky, on the other hand, I think it's the same thing. He's so desperate for things to go the way he wants them to that he can't have a vague answer. He needs a yes or a no right now. And she's
Yeah,
incapable of giving him that. So then she has to go for, well, then it's a no. Because again, she doesn't want to lie to him. He doesn't want to be lied to. And but then he's like so desperate about it that's I'm sorry, but that's unattractive.
yeah.
As much as I love
Um,
Bucky.
so Maeve calms Johnny down a bit. She says
Mhm.
how Jack is a challenge to Mary. And they talk about the kids and their kids and all that stuff. Jack is drunk because of her, he says.
Oh yeah. Yeah, she controls when he drinks.
It's all your fault. Always have someone to blame, that's what I say.
Yeah, sure.
Um, Faith tells Bucky um, they want two different relationships and she can't give him what he wants.
Right.
She feels like he's punishing her. He wants distance and she wants to be his friend.
I think that's fair to ask for distance.
For sure.
Yeah. I think that's fair.
Definitely.
I think that's fair. I think she was being like a little too optimistic, thinking that he would want to go from "I love you and I want to marry you" to "Hey, do you want to get a beer over at Ryan's?" Like that's not
Yeah,
going to
right.
happen right
Right.
away. Now he needs
Um,
time. Now she's got to give him time.
Mary tells Jack off she isn't being fair. He kisses her, like forces
Ugh,
a kiss. She
gross.
says that's not fair. He
hmm
apologizes for hurting her, and she lets him out. I guess it's locked once the door
Well,
locks at the end of the
I
night.
don't know. He came in a weird way. I think he came in through the kitchen, and then she had to let him
hmm
out through the front door, so she had to unlock it because it's the middle of the night and he shouldn't even be there. I'm so
Right.
drunk. I'm so desperate for you. I even wrote you an article on my paper about how I love you. The men are not
Episode
doing well this week.
episode 60. Nick visits Frank. He had Nick stop Roger's credit or whatever.
Line of credit
Says
for gambling.
why you pay his debt unless you have something on him.
hmm
Um, yeah, we need to know more information about what they have
The,
here.
the scenario is that Nick has a line of credit open for Roger so he can gamble at the track and all that. And
Like a loan shark.
like a loan shark, absolutely like a loan shark. So what Frank is saying is like, stop the money, stop the loans, don't give him any more money, because I paid off the last bill and I don't want to be paying off any more bills. And Nick is like, but why did you pay the bill off? So I think he paid the bill off because Roger knew he was cheating on his wife with Jill, and
Jill.
he used that information because remember, Roger knew right away that Jill was sleeping with Frank. Like he was really sweet to her about it, and that's how they kind of started restarting their relationship. And then here on the side, he's using it to get his gambling debt paid off.
Yeah.
I mean, good for him. Get your bag.
Yeah, right. Pat and Bucky talk about Faith. Faith and Clem talk. Nell comes over, cuts them off. Faith tells her off. I like that. Um, Pat and
Faith
Frank.
takes her anger out on Nell, but Nell is weird. She's standing in the background where Clem and Faith are having like a normal person conversation, and she's like that administrator that just shows up and goes, "Well, do people like to have fun at work? Because I'm here to stop it. Where's my charts?" And they're just
Yeah,
like,
I
"Get
feel
out
like
of here!"
Nell never shows a good side to Faith. Faith just always sees
No,
her as the villain.
they made a bad first impressions on each other, and they're just
Yeah,
perpetuating it. But why is poor Clem getting involved in this? Like he's just standing there doing his job.
I know.
But isn't that when Faith finds out because of Ed?
Yeah,
Because Ed is
yeah.
like, stop
Well,
yelling
not.
at her.
Yeah, yeah. That comes in after this scene. So
Okay.
Pat and Frank are together. Pat gives his opinion on, if he wants to walk. Frank says he wants to walk. Faith thinks Nell should have resigned and took Seneca with her, which is what
So
she says to
she
her.
blames everything on Nell.
Yeah. Ed comes along. He tells her to take it easy on Nell. I think that's also when he tells her what's going on with Nell.
I don't think he tells her the entire story. He just says that she's very ill and
Yeah,
to
she's
and to
really
leave her alone. And then Faith is kind of freaked out because she knows that Nell is Bucky's aunt.
Yeah,
So she's but he was just like, could you please stop hassling this woman
right.
on my behalf because I don't want you to do that. And Faith is just like,
Again,
we should boil her in oil and light it on fire and then roll her into the train tracks.
I mean, Nell did ask for it because
She
she
did.
came along
She did.
and she
She
didn't
did,
have to butt in.
but I think Faith took it too far.
Right.
But did she deserve
Um,
it? Yeah.
Pat comes along to lend an ear to Faith. She hugs them, and I just put mess.
Yeah.
The
Yes.
priest that saw Delia went to comes to see Frank. He says he feels he's grown, and Delia hasn't.
Hmm.
Um,
I think he's
Delia's
right.
possessive and demanding, and stopped caring. Jill caught his eye, and he fell for her. He's not guilty at all. He can't say he's sorry, and then the priest leaves.
I kind
That's
of
all I got
agree
for that
with Frank. I think when Frank married Delia, he was in his white knight phase and he wanted a woman that he was basically in control of because she
one.
needed him. And now that he went to law school and he spent time growing up, she's a younger woman. Like he now feels that he wants someone who's an equal to him, which Jill is more of an equal to him.
Yeah.
But
Right.
shouldn't have married Delia and knocked her up, and now you have a kid and a whole life, and you're going to just turn around and be like, well, I outgrew her and I gave her nothing to do for years while I was off in lawyer school doing lawyer stuff, and I don't care what she does.
Right. Where you could have ended your relationship and then
Earlier, yep.
pursued Jill. Right.
Or you could have
Um,
talked to her about pursuing her education. If you thought she wasn't growing, you could have encouraged her to grow, or like you said, gotten out of the relationship before all of this happened. There's
but
nothing
as
wrong
much
with
as I
outgrowing
as,
a relationship. Nothing wrong with
as
it.
much as I like Delia though, like she is off. So
Yeah, but I think she's off
in a lot of
because
ways.
she's been encouraged for years to behave in this kind of babied fashion. They all treat her like she's got mental health issues, and none of them really like they baby her. And
She kind of does.
but maybe yeah, well maybe she does. I don't know. But I don't know if it's the horse before the cart before the horse, you know what I mean? Like it just seems like
From what
I
I've
mean
seen in these 65 episodes, she's definitely a little off.
I
And
do
she
like her
did push
outfits
Frank.
though. She did push
I
him.
did too. Yeah, I did like
She
it
looks
too.
super
The
cute.
suede. Yeah. So episode 61, Bucky and Faith talk. He's mad that she isn't dealing with their issue. Um, I guess because she's not staying away from him. Like he
Well, there's
wants.
3 interns in the hospital. Where's she supposed to go?
Yeah, that's true.
There's only 1 nurse's station in this hospital. Where is she supposed to go?
She says she's sorry about his aunt, and he didn't know, so he kind of runs off. He goes and confronts Nell. She shows her scans, and he gets all upset, and he hugs her.
Mhm.
That was a sweet moment.
Yeah.
Maeve and Faith talk about Bucky, where Faith says, "I'm not that girl that he wants." Um, Seneca meets Nick.
Mhm.
Nick says he's not satisfied with what's going on.
No, he almost died.
He tells them that he almost died with the insulin.
Mhm.
Seneca apologizes and he looks into it immediately, which shows that Seneca is a decent doctor at this point, at
I think
least.
I think he's trying to be a good administrator. He's trying to put on like the proper air for it. Because like
Yeah,
I don't look, he seems like a shitty husband, but that doesn't mean he's bad at his job. So
right.
but I do think he's right when he like looks into it and he's kind of like, well, maybe that nurse should be fired. She almost killed somebody.
Yeah, yeah. Ed defends the nurse. He's like, she's been here for 8 years, and shit happens basically.
Yeah.
And he says basically, not on my watch, Seneca.
Hmm.
Ed apologizes to Nell for saying something to Bucky, or for Bucky finding out because he told
Because
Faith
of
that she
Faith,
was
yeah.
whatever. I like that she's like, "Oh, Bucky's my best friend," which was really sweet. He's more than a nephew to me. Bucky talks to Maeve about Nell and Faith.
And gets drunk at the
Um,
bar.
yeah, Maeve gives some good advice. She tells the story about an Irishman and to have hope and stuff, and it's cute.
I love that Irish story. It was great.
Whatever. Episode 62. Celia visits Frank to show her new look, her suede outfit.
Yeah, she looked okay. So she looked incredible. I'm sorry,
She
she
did.
did. She was wearing it well. She looked beautiful.
Even Mary complimented her on
Hmm.
it. She's like, I love your new outfit. She's
Everybody
like,
did.
thanks.
Everyone who saw her was like, "You look gorgeous, Dee. You look beautiful." Except Frank, because he's not
Um,
interested in her
um, well,
at all.
he didn't mind the outfit until he found out it was $275.
What's that in current money? Is that like $1,000 suit that she got?
Right?
Like she's
Basically.
insane. That was insane.
He's like, yeah, I wanted you to spend whatever you wanted, but not $275 on one
Uh,
outfit.
yeah,
We
you know
can't afford
what though? You know when he lost the ability to say that to her when he lost $6,500 of their money.
6,500.
So
Right.
he can suck it, and he's cheating on her. So if she gets $1,000 out of him, good for her.
So Mary
Team
is at
Delia.
Mary's at Frank's headquarters with Bob. Bob asks her out. This is where she has like a foursome. Mary,
The thing
Mary
is
has
though,
Roger, Bob,
but she doesn't seem
and
to understand
Jack.
that Bob likes her. Like she
No.
seems to be completely oblivious to the fact that Bob likes her because Bob is
Um,
like
I,
gently trying to ask her out, but he's like even
it's
as a friend, blah blah
because
blah.
they grew up together. They've been friends. So she
Okay.
doesn't look at him like that at all. She's just
Well,
like, we're
and he
hanging out
doesn't
having
make it
fun.
obvious either. He doesn't say like, "Hey, this is a date. Let's go on a date. It'll be fun." He says, "I
Right.
have a thing, and you can go with me, and I can bring a
Let's
friend."
go to
And
dinner.
mhm.
Um,
Yeah, she does have all the men around her.
Roger comes in with the column about Mary that Jack wrote.
Yep.
She reads it. Roger offers to help out, so he stays. Bob seems a little bit jealous about this, but he's
Yes, he's
staying there
very
too. They're
jealous.
all helping out in the office.
Yeah, well, he tried to get rid of
Um,
Roger by saying they were going to be there all night, and then Roger's like, "Well, I can help," and he's like, "Damn it."
son of a bitch.
Take a hit,
Um,
Roger.
Delia leaves after fighting with Frank. She bumps into Jack. She mentions the missing money to Jack, so then he raises more questions.
Because she says that Frank made her take the claim out for the money that the hospital lost. I
Right,
do want to make note that her ego was bruised, and right away Jack was like, "You look spectacular. Look at you." And so she started talking to him. So she got a little flustered and she gave him information she shouldn't have. But he's a good reporter. That's why he gets the info all the time.
Yeah. Bob mentions to Mary that he wants to do a short film on Frank, basically to spend time with Mary. He wanted to
Uh-huh.
start tonight, but it doesn't work.
No, because there's too many men who want Mary.
And Delia arrives to talk to Bob, and they go out to dinner. He's like, whatever, fine. We'll do it tomorrow. So they just, whatever.
Mhm.
Jack goes to see Jill at work.
Jack and Jill.
I know. I always think the same thing. Um, to ask questions about the $6,500 and if Frank filed a claim. And we find out, well, she says that he withdrew the claim or whatever.
Mhm.
Um, wants to prove to Mary that he wasn't unfair to Frank in the
That
article.
article was crazy, though. That article was like, my friend who still believes in angels and dreams and heroes. She's like, he can do no wrong. It was really, I hated it. I
Well,
get what he was trying to do.
that was the new article, but I
Yeah, it
think about
was.
the other article. It
No,
was
yeah, I
really
know about
in
the old
her.
article with the
Right, right.
loaded questions, but it was just the way he wrote that other article. I understand what he was trying to do, but it really came across as patronizing. So
Yeah,
it didn't really work for me. I do like the character, but he's off his end. He's crazy.
yeah, he's going through it a little bit. I think he's just crushing on her and drinking
How
and
old is she? It seems like all these men are so much older than her, and they're all like hanging around her, being like, "When will she love me?" And she's like, "I'm running a campaign, and I have things to do. Why are boys here?" you know.
right. It's the truth. It really is. She only has interest in Jack, even though right now she doesn't know it. It's one of those.
I know, but at this, I think she does. She just lost faith in him because he crapped
Yeah,
on
yeah.
her brother, and that her brother's in the hospital paralyzed. And even though her brother kind of deserves it, like she's not going to see it that way.
I think the article got to her a little bit too, even
Yeah,
though
I'm
she's
sure
not
it
gonna get
did.
in.
I'm sure it did. It was probably so heartwarming.
Yeah, in a little bit.
Sure.
Episode 63, Roger and Mary chat.
Mhm.
Jack's article was flattering to her. I think Roger says that. Jack comes by. She tells him that it was manipulative and arrogant. Jack asks Roger for a moment with Mary. Um, next scene, Bucky is hungover slash still drunk.
He's still drunk, and I kind of like the idea that these doctors have their own little apartments at the hospital. That's really cute.
They do. I know
Yeah,
we have that. We have
yeah.
people that stay in our
Because
yeah.
like on ER, they usually just have bunk beds in a single room. you know.
Yeah, it's both. They have different things. We have like rooms and stuff.
So what Seneca took a drunk Bucky back to his quarters and to sober him up.
Yeah.
And it was cute.
So
It's a cute little
Seneca,
area.
Seneca helps him out. I actually thought we saw heart in Seneca instead of just dickhead in this. He
Yeah,
actually
except
had a
he then
personality.
immediately used it to pump Bucky for information.
True. And he gets information.
Mhm.
They talk about Faith, Bucky, Bucky says, sorry, my cat is blocking my throat. Bucky says he's miserable about Nell and Faith. Seneca's like, what? Like, what about Nell? What? Jack
And
tells
Bucky
Mary that
tries to
Frank.
cover too. He's like, nothing. I'm just drunk. I'm gonna go get a shower. Bye bye. And I'm like, oh, Buck.
Jack tells Mary that Frank didn't make a claim for his money.
Mhm.
Don't you wonder why? Maybe Frank didn't know, she says.
Oh, come on.
Um, and that he declined the claim to claim or whatever. Um, Pat comes in, Faith is there making applesauce. I like how she just hangs out at the pub and does what she wants. I guess
Well,
because they grew
they
up
all grew up
together.
together. So while Maeve was talking to her earlier and pulled her into the kitchen because Bucky came and she wanted to hide away from Bucky. And Maeve is like, well,
Yeah.
I guess I can have you make applesauce.
Yeah.
Get to work for free.
Yeah. Why not?
Mhm.
They talk. She wants Bucky to go out with someone else.
Mhm.
Um, Pat and her also talk about all his women,
Mhm. That he's
which
a
was
hoe.
fun. How do you know them all? He's like, how do you know them all? How do you keep them all? Like, how do you
That's
remember?
weird.
It was cute.
It's like he doesn't even keep
Um,
track of them. He's like, well, I'm done dating that girl, so bye-bye.
well, he's busy working too. He
Yeah,
ain't
he's
got time for
becoming a
that.
doctor. He doesn't have time for a real
Right.
relationship right now.
Skating
Neither do
around.
Faith and Bucky, so whatever.
Right. Right. Roger visits Frank. He wants some money, paid Nick off, um, to make a good gesture or whatever. Frank says he wants to tell the truth about the money. Roger says no, or he will tell about him and Jill.
Hmm.
Jack says talk to wait, what? Jack says talk to Frank to Mary, and that's how I got. That's all I got for that one.
So the scene with Roger was interesting because Roger immediately went back to gambling in an attempt to win the money back to pay back Frank, and he did win $500. And he brought the $500 to him and was like, "I got your money. I got 500. It's part of the money. I want to give it to you." He's like, "Can I put it in, wire it to your account? What's your account information?" And Frank's like, "You can't just be dumping money into my account. Like that's gonna look so weird and like
Yeah.
make it even worse for me in this scenario." And Roger says something that I think is going to be important. He says, "I can't have it in my account because I can't have it somewhere where I can touch it because he has a gambling addiction."
Mm,
And literally Frank's just like, just deal with it and don't touch it. I'm like, that's a stupid thing to say, Frank. He's got a gambling problem.
right.
So he's going to get himself right back into hot water with Zabo. There's no way he can't. He's addicted.
Yeah. Um, Episode 64. Jill visits Frank. I think she like touches his arm and he thinks he feels it, but he's not sure because of
Hmm. Well,
whatever's
he
going
has
on.
that PT nurse in there doing like
Yeah,
bending
the
his arms and
exercises.
stuff. Yeah. So she
Yeah.
was in there going, "We'll get you up to speed," and he's like, "Oh, I don't know about that." Oh wait,
She
she was
tells
funny because he's like, "You got to get my right arm going because that's my arm where I played darts."
Yeah, yeah. That was funny. Um, Jill tells him about Jack coming to her. Mary visits Frank. Seneca confronts Bucky about the X-ray that he talked about. He
Hmm.
kind of covers. He says that, it was just about Faith. Um, and then they just chat about the women.
Hmm.
Jill leaves so Mary and Frank can talk about the $6,500. He says he can't say anything. Can't we just say no comment? This is where it's kind of getting to Mary. Like she's like, no,
Finally, yeah,
yeah.
she's finally
She's
starting
like,
to see the cracks in his little magical facade.
right. Well, because he's flat out saying shit now.
He's
He's like, I
denying
can't tell you.
things
She's like, don't you trust me? He's like, I do, but I can't say anything. That's just how it is.
because then you'll know I'm cheating on my wife and giving Roger money, and it'll blow up several relationships in your life.
Right. She says that she'll stall finale. Um, says she'll drop it. Meanwhile, at the bar, Mary and Johnny catch up, or Mary goes to the bar. Um, they talk about the money and that they got questions. So now, I guess this is what will bring her back in Finale's world and be like, okay, maybe you were a little right, or
Hmm.
maybe not. Maybe she'll still fight for her brother. We'll see. Pat and Faith hang out. They talk about some kind of dance or affair that a dance is at. Um, and then they teach her how to hoe down Maeve and Johnny.
Oh yeah, they want her to go to a fash, I think it's called, which is just
Yeah, I didn't know
like
what
an
they called
Irish
it.
shindig, I guess, where they line dance.
Oh,
So then they
I
just,
got you.
I don't, you can correct me. I don't know. That's what it sounded like she said. She
It
said,
makes sense because then they were doing that Irish jig.
yeah. So they were all doing that, and Bucky leaves in a huff because it's too hard to watch her having fun with other people when she
I know
refused to
Bucky.
have fun with him.
I thought Bucky came to the bar, but he didn't want to bring down the party, is what he said. He's like,
I think
he's like,
that's
she
what
looks
he
like she's
said,
having a good time.
but I
I'll stay
think
on the side and watch her.
yeah, I think he felt uncomfortable seeing her having a good time when it wasn't with him. It's still gonna
Yeah.
sting for a minute, but yeah, he dips. He dips.
I mean, not that she has a good time when she's with him.
By the way, he pounds his
Barely.
beer and then walks right out the door, and I was like, baller. Be like, chug
Mm,
that thing.
can't have my woman. I'm gonna drink.
She's not your woman.
These women making these men drink. Terrible.
Yeah, the women are definitely making the men make bad choices by not doing exactly what the men want them to do. It's tough. It's tough out here.
Yeah. Episode 65. Frank has PT again.
Mm-hmm.
Pat comes in. We find out he can move his feet and lift his hands.
Mm-hmm.
Jill visits. Um, Nick and Pat have a conversation with Clem about his shoes or his boots or
He
whatever.
has shoes that are from Carter's to
Carter's shoe store.
keep his feet. They're Italian leather. They're expensive, but they're going to keep his feet from getting cold and wet this winter. And they're teasing him a little bit about his fancy shoes. And Clem is like, "You're all dumb because my feet are going to be totally dry this winter, and you're all going to be like, ugh."
And Bucky's there, and Bucky's dad is a shoe salesman.
Pat puts it together. Yeah.
Pat figures it out that, yep, he's loaded. He's got branches all over the country, 176 of them.
And the funny thing is, this is the weirdest little cabal to know he's rich. It's like Nick Szabo, Clem, who doesn't care, and Pat, who's his best friend. And he's just like, "But how much money are you going to have, Bucky?" And he's like, "I don't know, like a couple million. I don't know." Like, it's no big deal. And Pat's like, "Oh." I would be like that
Yeah.
too. I was like,
The
"Pat,
only
I
one
feel you."
the only one I would be concerned with is Nick knowing, because
Yeah,
I don't know
Nick.
his deal, so
Yeah, he might use that in the future if he needs
like he
something.
seems like a good dude, but I don't know.
I don't know. Like it's hard to get a like a line on him because sure, he's a loan shark. But is that any less valid than a landlord? I mean, really?
Right.
So I don't know if I think Nick's
Oh.
a bad guy, although he does break your toes if you don't pay your bills.
Well, he doesn't. He has people do it for him.
Yep, you got to outsource it. He's making
So he
work in the
must be a good
community.
guy. Um, Jill and Frank play chess, and then there's a flashback of them playing chess.
And Frank being a
So
sore loser.
it's what they did.
Hmm.
And Delia busts them.
Yeah.
This was a good drama episode. I really like this one.
I felt for Delia because can you
Because
imagine? Ugh.
we had between that and Seneca going in with
Mhm.
Nell, I'm like, the drama is being
Ramping
elevated.
up.
So it's
Yeah.
definitely, I think we're in November sweeps. I'm not positive. Or near it. Seneca tells Nell about what happened with Bucky. Nell starts going off on Seneca and has some kind of head pain.
Yeah, he is stressing her out because again, he just keeps saying, um, I had a dream, like I was thinking about you and I was thinking about us together, and I had this nice moment with Bucky, and it reminded me of when we were hiding our relationship from everybody and we were hiding it from Bucky. I guess when they were dating, maybe they were living in sin or whatever. And
Right.
he just goes on, and then again starts talking about the relationship from what he gets out of it. And it's like, I think maybe I was to this and maybe I was to that. And he's like, but in the last 10 years, you got me here. You got all the work you did to get me here. And it's just like, Seneca, stop saying me. You're driving me
Yeah, right.
crazy. Because he's like, what you can do for me, what our relationship is all about me.
I think Seneca's smart enough to put it together once this head pain thing happens.
Hmm. He
I feel
definitely
like
did.
he's gonna put it together pretty quick. I don't know if he'll know she's dying, but I know he'll think something's going. Like he'll know that she has like a
I
tumor
felt
or
like he
something.
even looked at the x-rays. I don't know if he knew they were hers, but he was
Yeah,
looking at x-rays.
when he was in her office snooping around, he glanced at the X-rays and she came right in. So he might have been distracted by that, but yeah, he might have caught it, and he'll probably put two and two together. I'm thinking.
Yeah, because the x-rays don't have her name on it, but I think after that
Right.
flash of pain, I think you're right.
Yeah, but we'll see because we don't see it in this one. This one. Um, Delia goes off on Jill and Frank
Hmm.
that she doesn't take marriage seriously. Um, Delia says she wants her to stay, I guess, so she can see how tormented she is over this.
Hmm.
She tells Frank that she's changing. And then she says, "Are you going to take little John away from me?" Jill says she would never do that. Delia tries to guilt her. She's going to fight with generosity, she says, because she's a Christian woman now.
But she keeps saying, I spoke with the priest. And she keeps like harping on that because she knows
Yeah,
that Frank comes from a religious family. But at the same time, I think she wanted to shove Jill's nose in it that Jill is actually actively destroying a family right now. And as much as
yeah,
it's like Frank's cheating, Jill is cheating with him. And she's like, you shouldn't be doing this. And Jill's like, I'll do whatever Frank wants me to do. And it's just like,
yeah,
girl, go somewhere else. Like, this is ridiculous. Or at least let him get divorced first before throwing yourself even deeper into this pit. And then when
right.
they talk about the kid, Delia's right. When they say, like, we would never take the baby away from you, that means they both thought about it. So they were thinking about what they were going to do next and whether or not they were going to take that baby away from Delia. So I'm like, these guys are real pieces of work. And I like
Yeah,
that she made Jill stay in the room and see exactly what Jill was doing because Jill is outside of it. So Jill lives in this little fantasy world where her and Frank are happy and they're in love and everything's amazing. And Delia's a monster. But meanwhile, Delia is the wife who's being cheated on, who's at home with his kid.
right. And she said, or Delia says, like, "Oh, you can come around when I'm not here, but think of how much you're hurting me."
Hey, Jill
And
deserved
then,
that. I'm sorry. She deserved that. Delia's
and
awful.
then Delia leaves, and I think uh Jill like moves in or whatever, and like grips his hand or something, and then he can grip his hand now.
Hmm. But
And
she
that's all
also
I got.
says to him, she's like, Frank, if you need to call this off because you're going to stay with your wife, or if you don't want to be with me, or you don't love me the way I love you, no hard feelings. We'll just let it go and that'll be the end of it. And Frank's like, that's not what I want. But, it's so
Yeah,
nice of you to suggest that you would trash your entire life for me. I kind of like that.
right.
And I was like,
And what I want to know is, what does Lemon Lady think of these 9 episodes? Tell us, Lemon Lady, our only commenter.
this is such a good run of episodes, to be honest. We're like you said, we're ramping up. Um, I
Yeah,
like the idea that even though I think this marriage is over and probably should be dissolved, I like that Dee is fighting for it. She's like, I'm going to the priest to see how I can evolve, how I can be a better person. We can work on this, we can fix it. And Frank is just like, nope, I already got my side piece and I don't care about you anymore. And it's like,
but I like with Delia too. Like she went to the priest, but then she goes and spends $275 on an outfit. I'm like, is that what you're getting from the
I
priest? Did the
think
priest tell you to do that?
no, I think in Delia's mind, she is trying to copy Jill to see if she can entice Frank to look at her again. So she sees that Jill is an incredibly well put together lawyer and she can't do the lawyering stuff, but she can help it out at the campaign, which she starts doing immediately. And
Right.
she can dress similar to Jill. So you'll notice that she starts wearing suits and button downs and starting to look as put together as Jill is. She even says, Jill is always so put together, and I kind of want to be like that too. So she's trying to
Yeah.
get her husband to see that she can be what Jill is for him. And he's not seeing it at all because he's in love with Jill and not in love with Delia.
Yeah. So I'm guessing with Mary, they're giving her all these love interests, and I think she only cares about Jack. I think she looks at Roger as a friend, maybe. I don't know.
I think she kind of crushes on Roger a little bit because of that kiss she had when she was younger. So, like, I think
Right.
she looks at him as like the one that got away, kind of. So she's just kind of playing it safe with him right now while she works through her feelings for
Jack.
Jack. And Jack has the emotional maturity of a turnip. So I'm waiting to see if he evolves a little bit. Because right now
I
it's
don't
like
think
he's like, well, she doesn't like me, so I'm drunk at her house at 2 a.m. I'm like, oh, I don't know.
How
No.
humiliating too. Like,
Right.
I mean,
What if you're
I
so
don't know.
drunk that you threw up on her shoes or something? I'd die. You never come
I
back from
kind of,
that.
I kind of want Johnny to say something to him. Be like, really, pal? Like, you're ridiculous. Like,
I
I
was
don't know.
super surprised that Johnny allowed Mary Ryan to go down and handle that, because at that point in time, that would have been, he would have gone down with a baseball bat and beat the crap out of him. Like that's what would have
Right.
happened in real life if it was a real Irish father. He would have gone down there and he would have been like, I don't know what you're doing here, but if you're not gone in the next 5 seconds, I'm going to beat the crap out of you. And then come back when you're
Mhm.
sober and talk to me before you talk to her. And like he wanted to do that. And Maeve is like, no, no, let them handle it themselves. Don't get involved. And Johnny's like, but I have a bat and I know what to do with it. And I
Right,
kind of
right.
liked that. He was a very traditional dad and a very, like, I liked that a lot.
Yeah, he just wants to protect his little girl. They did
Mhm.
mention, I think, Kathleen. I think they mentioned the one
A
other
lot.
kid. So,
They mentioned Siobhan and Kathleen, and they said they hadn't heard from Kathleen, and they were like, "Oh,
hmm,
she's a good girl." And in my head, I was like, "Oh, I guess Kathleen's coming on," because the way they talked
yeah,
about her was like they were out of contact with her and they didn't know what was going on, and that leads me to believe that she's on her way to town. Let's see if
right.
I'm right. I don't know. We'll find out if I'm
I would
right.
think so too. Usually, when they amp up something like that, when they talk about something, it usually happens.
Yeah, they drop hints before characters ever show up. Like, and they talked about the sisters previously. Like Mary Ryan has mentioned that she has two sisters that are off canvas, and then the parents have mentioned them. And then to have this sudden conversation about not being able to get a hold of Kathleen, because they would have only been able to call or write her at this point. You know, you can't GPS her. So I would think if you can't call her and she's not answering letters, she's probably traveling to town.
What do you think? Like when Seneca finds out about Nell, what do you think he's gonna do?
He's going to probably try and force her to have the operation. I
Hmm,
think that's what he's going to do. He is her husband. He does have a lot of medical control, especially in the 70s where we are. I mean, she's married, so she doesn't have as many rights as a single woman because, he's her medical
yeah,
proxy and all that. So I think he's going to try and kind of badger her into getting the surgery. Maybe he's good
right.
enough to do it, or maybe he'll kill her with his constant pushing because he's already
Yeah.
with the aneurysms like in her brain. Wouldn't the stress make it more dangerous for her because her that would be constricting a lot?
I thought it could go either that way, where he'd be like that, or he would get like better to like for her in the end if he
So
knows
you
it's gonna
have
be like
faith in Seneca, and I don't. I think that's my faith is in Ed. I think Ed is a better match for Nell than Seneca.
oh yeah, I do too. But I feel like he's gonna get I don't know, I just feel like he's gonna be different and try to change. Could be wrong
No,
because
I
I
don't
just
think
feel
you're
like
wrong. I don't think you're wrong. I just don't think Nell's going to fall for it.
well, I mean, yeah, she probably won't. And now she likes Ed now too. I don't know. It would be interesting though if it does go that route because I'm like then
Mhm.
you'd have like two. I mean, she's married to the one, and then if he's trying to be like actually decent now, but we'll see. Because we know he does have a little bit of decency because he helped Bucky out.
I worry that like okay, so if this were real life, I would tell her to run because this is like him love bombing her to get control back over her. He's not doing it. I think he loves her. Don't get me wrong. I do believe he loves her. But I think he loves her in a way where he thinks he owns her. And
Right.
she's trying to get away from him and he's trying to regain gain control over her anyway. Because remember, he wouldn't come to town, he wouldn't come to town, he wouldn't come to town. And then she
Yeah.
was like, well, I'm not leaving. And he's like, oh, all of a sudden he can come to town, which he could have solved. They would have stayed together if he had just done what she wanted him to do in the first place. But that was not under his control. So he wasn't going to do that. Now he comes to town. He can't get her attention. So he steals Ed's job and moves into her job and becomes her boss. So now he has a different kind of control over her. And now he's
Yeah.
going to try and get medical control over her. So it's really hard for me to like Seneca other than the actor's great. But like it's hard for me to like Seneca because he's controlling and I don't like it.
Right.
And I love
Yeah.
how Ed treats her as an equal, fights with her like an equal. Like when they first met and she was being an ass, he called her out on it. And I like that kind of relationship better than
Yeah.
than what she had with Seneca.
And a controlling one.
Yeah.
And then what about this Bucky Faith Pat fiasco?
It's confusing to me because Faith, her interest in Pat, it's like I don't know what that is. I think it's going to damage the relationship between Bucky and Pat because Bucky sees everyone that Pat dates as
Yeah.
just like a fly by night. So he's going to be like, you didn't even respect Faith, blah, 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 blah. And I loved her and I wanted to marry her. And I think I still think Faith is just asexual and they should just leave her alone. But she does seem to have interest in Pat, though.
I almost think that Pat and her are going to kiss at some point, just like when they have a
Definitely.
good night out. Like they're going to go for that. And then
And it's
then
going to
it
be
might get a
nothing.
little,
Yeah, they have
then it'll get a
chemistry.
little different.
Yeah,
They do. They do.
they do.
But yeah, Bucky and Faith, I feel like they just need to not go there.
I think it's a shame because I think they could have. I think if Bucky had come at it like let's become really good friends first and then let's see where it goes, I think he could have gotten somewhere with Faith. But I think every time they hung out, he was pushing the envelope each time and she wasn't ready for that. So it's like she wanted the relationship but she was unable to move at the pace he wanted to move because I don't think she feels chemistry for him, but she was willing to try because she liked him as a person.
Yeah.
Because she told him in the beginning, she's like, I don't feel that way. I don't normally feel that way. I was in this relationship pre-sex. We were having a great time. Post-sex, I never wanted to be there again. And he didn't listen at all to any of that. He was just like, oh, so you had sex with someone else? Okay, that should be me. I really just feel like they're not communicating well.
No. Not at all. Well,
No.
he is. I feel like he's
He is
saying
now,
things.
but I don't think he was earlier.
Yeah. But she gives them like the runaround, I feel like, and she's just.
I agree with that, but also when she says slow down, he doesn't. And when she says stop pushing, he doesn't. So it's like, sure, he's communicating his feelings to her clearly, but he's not listening and understanding her communication to him.
Yeah.
Or even trying. He's just like, well, I want this, so this is what we're doing.
Right. That's true.
So I just miss if they're not a match. It sucks because I thought in the beginning they were really cute, but now I'm just over it. I don't like it. I think Pat actually listens to what Faith says. So even if they did hook up, I think it would be better for both of them because they'd be listening to each other and communicating.
It's true. And anything else to say about these episodes?
I'm worried about Nell. I don't I don't want Nell to die. And I know they've set her up with TV disease, so I feel like it's only a matter of time. Or she's going to have some massive, crazy surgery.
I think she signed a year contract, so by May she's out.
Oh, yikes!
So we have time. We have time.
Yeah, but I was kind of hoping that maybe Ed would do a miracle surgery and save her, because I like the idea of Seneca being unable to save her, and yet Ed is because he's the head of neurology, and I kind of have faith in him. But I mean, that would be my pie in the sky situation.
That could happen.
Yeah, so maybe I want to see this. I want Siobhan and I want Kathleen to come on.
Yeah, I'm curious too.
I want to see if one of them is a wild child that doesn't believe that every Ryan is sacred. Like I need a Ryan that is a little more disconnected from the family than these are.
Maybe Kathleen, because they didn't
Kathleen. But yeah, it was this was very exciting bunch of episodes. They went pretty quickly.
Yeah, I thought so too. It was good stuff. Good writing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us this week with Ryan's Hope. We'll bring you some more in the coming weeks. Happy holidays. Thank you, Patreon subscribers. Thank you, regular subscribers. We love all 670 of you. And have a good one, everyone. Good night.